Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to this video interview. My name is Brian Pereira. I am the founding editor of Digital Creed, and I have with me Mr. Sharad Sanghi, who's the CEO of Global Data Centers and Cloud Infrastructure for India at NTT NetMagic. Welcome, Sharad.
Thank you, Brian. How are you?
All well. I hope everything is well at your end.
Yes, all well here as well.
So we are both locked away in our houses in Mumbai, as you can see, and it's the 6th of May today, and we can just pray and hope for the best. But what I've learned is that the lockdown is being extended till May 17th. And I also read in the media that the manufacturing is reopening, but on a limited scale with a reduced task force. We are seeing some green shoots. There's this talk about the airlines taking their bookings again. But we know that things will never be the same, like the pre-COVID days, Sharad. So actually, let's really talk about what's happening today. Okay, so my first question to you is, Sharad, what has been the impact of all this, of the COVID, the pandemic, on the various industries? And then how do you see organizations adapting their infrastructure and workflow processes today for all this?
Sure, Brian. So first of all, I'll start with our own industry. And, we've been classified as an essential services, both from a data center perspective, as well as from a internet service provider perspective. And therefore, for us, we've been running our facilities right throughout the pandemic, right from day one, because it's an essential service. Now, clearly, in terms of during the lockdown, the new business that would have come in terms of servers in the data center, for example, or, and obviously we don't have face-to-face meetings with clients. We have Zoom calls or other collaboration calls. Obviously, for all these reasons, the growth of new business is obviously impacted. But there are some businesses, some aspects of our revenue, including, for example, internet bandwidth, disaster recovery, business continuity planning, collaboration services, as well as security services that have grown. But overall, for us, the biggest impact was that we had to stop construction on our new facilities. And so that will impact us in the future by a couple of months. The good news is that from 4th of May, we've been given limited permission to do things like waterproofing, etc. And so we will, and hopefully by the 18th, we will be able to start that construction. But since we have customers from all industries as our clients, another impact would be the impact if the customers get impacted, then obviously their growth with us and their ability to continue services with us gets impacted. But on the whole, by and large, because of the kind of clients that we have, whether it's in banking and finance, which are also essential services, the hyperscalers, some of the manufacturing companies, as you said, manufacturing also started, some of the larger companies. Since we deal with some of the larger enterprise clients, I think our impact is very little in terms of from the customer perspective. I think the bigger impact would be in the small, medium enterprises, right, who don't have the kind of credit lines and credit facilities to help them navigate this crisis. Obviously, the sectors is everybody knows which sectors have been impacted, including airlines, as you mentioned, real estate, malls, restaurants. A lot of these sectors have impacted. While I believe auto manufacturing has now started, but if dealerships don't open, right, they cannot. There's no point them having a lot of inventory which they can't sell. So I think for 1 quarter at least, a lot of these sectors will get impacted. Okay. But I think IT is one of the sectors that is, I would imagine, lesser impacted than some of the other sectors, because a lot of our stuff happens over the cloud or online, and therefore our sector is probably not as badly impacted as some of the other sectors. Right? Obviously, the collaboration sector has seen a huge boost. Online education has seen a huge boost. You were mentioning that even your daughter is doing online class as we speak. And so clearly, my kids are back from the US. They are doing online semester from Bombay. And therefore, online education is a huge companies like Baiju and all will have a huge growth in this period and for the foreseeable future. In our case, I'd also like to add that while the impact in terms of new business is there for a quarter, because we are recurring revenue in nature, our business will still continue to grow this year. And I think in the long run, this will be a huge, because of the way things will change, where everything will be done online. More people will work from home. More people will pay attention to security and business continuity. I think from a long-term perspective, this will probably boost our sector quite substantially.
Okay. So, Sharath, previously some businesses were very hesitant to jump to the cloud, to move to the cloud, and to embrace digital transformation. But when COVID-19 came along, we didn't have a choice. Suddenly, we had to transform ourselves and move to cloud. And suddenly, there's a huge demand for cloud services that we have seen, as you mentioned in some examples. We are seeing a huge spike because now we have remote working, we have collaboration, people working from doing video calls, we have participating in webinars. So suddenly, the traffic has just spiked up at your side. What kind of spike are you seeing in this traffic today compared to the pre-COVID days? And how are you preparing for this, Sharad?
So what we've done, we've seen a substantial. So there have been increases in traffic and also a decrease in traffic, but the increase has been a lot more than the decrease. There have been some sectors that have been impacted, so therefore the traffic to those sites have obviously reduced. But most of the internet-centric companies, if you will, right, and the collaboration companies and the OTT companies, for a lot of people watching Netflix and Amazon, for example, a lot of these kind of clients have seen the traffic zoom, right, and therefore overall we've seen an impact of around 25% in our traffic if you were to compare pre-COVID and post-COVID. Since we had always have additional capacity and all our bandwidth is burstable in nature, we've not had an impact. We've just been able to open up our pipes and give customers more performance. Some of the smaller players, right, who didn't have this kind of multiple 10 gig pipes, for example, or 100 gig pipes to be able to allow customers to burst, those players may have seen some impact because they may not have been able to upgrade in time. But in our case, since our entire capacity is burstable and this increase. And so, the traffic has grown and will continue to grow. I think this is now, as more and more businesses move online, a lot of people who wanted to do digital transformation managed to do something with, for example, using their mobile phones. But a lot of them could not set up their systems given the lockdown. Yeah. So I believe post lockdown, you'll again see a spurt in this.
Okay. Sharad, you mentioned that a lot of the small businesses were kind of caught off guard. Okay, and now many of them want to move to the cloud. So is there a way that you are helping? How are you helping all these businesses to move to the cloud, to migrate to the cloud?
Yeah. So, Brian, what we've done is we've got especially for startups, we've got this program for incentivizing them to move to the cloud, where we offer a combination of cloud credits. So for some duration, we give them free cloud instances, both not only on our own cloud, but also on some of our partner clouds like Google, Amazon, and Azure. We also offer some amount of audit services, and whether it's a security audit or whether it's a design audit services, and some managed services for a certain amount of time bundled in, so that this bundle that we offer to the startups can help them to move to the cloud, and then once they stabilize, then they can start paying for it, right? And this will also, this for this 2 or 3 month period, this will help them, kind of navigate what the issues that they are going through, and so we've seen a good uptake on this from some of the startups. Just before this call, I had a call with a startup that has come out with a collaboration app within India, right? And they're looking to scale that, and they need some cloud credits to start off with. We just offered to give them some cloud credits. So it's actually I think this is going to hasten the use of digital in general, and the move to cloud much faster than any other way, because as you said, there's no choice. So people have to move to online and to digital.
So, as we speak about adoption of cloud services right now, especially from startups and small and medium businesses, can you elaborate a little bit more on the types of services that these small startups are now offering through cloud? You mentioned that there were like education apps, for example. Another one is OTT, like the Netflix type of apps. So, what kind of traffic are you seeing? What kind of services and apps are you seeing a demand for these days?
Brian, it pretty much cuts across the spectrum. We've seen a lot of startups in the fintech space. We've seen a lot of startups in the in the collaboration space. We've seen a lot of startups in the online tech space, online ed tech space, and so it cuts across various sectors. There are some interesting startups doing for example, microfinance and a lot of in the entire fintech space, especially in Bombay, we see a lot of requests from them. We've seen a lot of people on the online logistics space, a lot of people who want to do hyper local delivery, especially now where you cannot really depend on delivery from out of state. And so there have been some companies that have set up in a very short time local delivery setups, where they can probably connect you to the kirana stores nearby and do delivery to your house. So these are the kind of things that we've seen, but really it's across multiple verticals that we see startups coming in. Obviously, a lot of them are a little concerned about funding and future prospects. And our hope is that we can give them enough credit to for them to navigate these next couple of months, and hopefully if things improve, then they should be in a position to get back on their feet.
Okay, so we all remain hopeful that the situation will be resolved in the next few months. Donald Trump has spoken about a vaccine being available at the end of the year, but I don't know how seriously we can take Donald Trump. However, business models, Sharad, are certainly going to change post COVID-19, right? So what is your outlook on that? How are the business models going to be transformed? For example, supply chains are going to change, right? Post COVID-19, it's going to be a distributed workforce. You'll see services on demand, more customized solutions for customers. So, what is your view on that? What is your outlook on how the business models are going to change post COVID-19?
Yeah, so I think there's going to be a lot more automation in business process. As you said, companies are going to adopt digital transformation and try and use as much automation as possible. Automation, not only makes it less human dependent, more efficiency, but also less prone to error. And so I see that happening a lot. I see a lot of work from home is going to become pretty much a reality, not only during this time. We've seen the announcements of companies like TCS, but even in our case, we are going to allow work from home a lot more liberally than we used to in the past. And the reason is that we found that people are actually working pretty well. We've with the 90% of our, while 10% do come to office because we are an essential service, but 90% of our people are working from home, and they've done a pretty good job. We've not really had an impact. We published our results on time. We did our year end on time. We published April results on time. And so whether it's for virtually all the departments, whether it's engineering, whether it's product innovation, whether it's marketing, for example, has now moved more online than events and things. We're not doing any billboards, we're not doing any airport hoardings, but we're doing a lot of digital marketing. We're doing a lot of webinars, right? We are seeing we see companies adopt e-learning a lot more, right? I remember we had signed up our company for Udemy, right? And for all our employees, and we had seen a moderate usage pre-COVID, and that has gone through the roof post-COVID, right? Yes. So everybody now, we've had almost 500 certifications done in the last 40 days, right, within our staff. So that is the kind. So clearly, there's going to be lesser face-to-face, more collaboration, virtually more work from home, more emphasis on security, more emphasis on disaster recovery and business continuity. So we see that across all spectrum, and of course more automation. When we say digital transformation, we want everything, entire process flow from the time you prospect a customer till the time the customer signs up, goes live, and continues operation or disengages. That entire process is going to be completely automated. A lot of companies have already done that, but a lot of companies were laggards in this space, and now they will adopt that, so that come a similar situation few years down the road, they're not caught off guard.
Okay. So Sharad, can you tell us what lessons have you learned from all this, and on the impact on business, and what do businesses need to do, for business continuity and to be more prepared? There's talk that there's going to be a similar outbreak of some other virus later this year. So what can we as businesses do to prepare for this, and what are the lessons we have learned from this in terms of
So
being resilient, business continuity, those kind of things?
yeah. So in our case, we while we already had, we are not only doing business continuity for our clients, but of course, all our systems, we have to go through a rigorous business continuity process. We get certified across multiple certifications every year, and we have to prepare for the worst, because if any one data center gets impacted, it impacts several clients. So I think from a business continuity perspective, we were reasonably well prepared.
Yeah.
But some of the learnings for me have been that work from home works well, right? I've seen, we allowed work from home, but we allowed it on a selective basis, subject to a department head saying yes. But we've now seen that work from home works really well and efficiently. So that's one learning for us. The other learning for us is that, in all our data centers, we had to make some space for people to stay. We didn't have, for example, areas where we could house sufficient people. Now, for example, if the entire area becomes a containment zone, then people cannot come in or go out. So what we've done in each of our data centers now is quickly ordered bunk beds, and this we did in the first week just before the lockdown, so that we can have a minimum set of staff staying in the facility, without so that we can ensure that operations continues. Obviously, we've increased the level of, we are now doing temperature screening throughout our facilities. We've increased the level of sanitization, and I think people will start wearing masks now for the foreseeable future, right? So those changes, I think, will be across all sectors. We've also we've made arrangements with private transportation companies so that we can ferry our staff. I think that the dependence on public transportation is another thing that we realize is something we can't do going forward. And so these are some of the learning from our side. That you can't, one could never have imagined that something that would impact not only us, but like the entire world, right? So there have obviously been a lot of learnings.
Okay, great. So Sharad, one final question. When do you see things returning to normal from whatever you've been reading?
I think the normal, as you said, is going to be a new normal.
New
right?
normal.
So,
okay, let's talk about new normal.
I don't think the old normal is ever going to come back, right? So I think we'll have to learn to live with it. I think while May 18th might get extended, in my opinion, especially in cities like Bombay, but I think eventually, when the curve starts coming down, right? If you look at the entire world curve, it's actually on the downward trend. So let's say whenever that happens, let's say in the next 15 days or 1 month or 2 months or whatever, people will, you can't keep the economy locked down for so long, because then negative impact will be a far greater. And so I think then people will have to learn to live with this. And, people will have to learn to live with, not only this pandemic or this virus, but there will be similar other viruses now. Now, when people used to forecast this earlier, nobody paid any attention.
Yeah.
But now people will. I think one of the lessons that I think the entire healthcare system will get revamped in the country, right, and across the world. And so, I personally believe that whenever the lockdown ends, which is in June or July or late May, people will have to just live with this, right, and they'll have to take appropriate precautions to make sure that this doesn't impact. So I think business will start return. Uh, Business will start operating very soon in India. I don't think you can lock down that further. One of the other
Yes.
learnings that I remembered is, that we had, while 80% of our staff had laptops, there were 20% of our staff that had desktops. So since we were one of the first companies, we actually made it mandatory to work from home 1 week before the lockdown. So we were able to rent the balance 15-20% of laptops that we needed. And what we've obviously decided is, going forward, we will not have any. We'll use more laptops and VDI, thin clients and laptops for our staff.
Desktop as a service.
A desktop as a service we will not be using, and that's something we are not only providing to our clients, but we'll also be using it ourselves a lot more than we did earlier.
So So Sharad, it's really nice that you have taken care of your employees. You're doing residency there at NTT NetMagic. You're taking all the precautions, sanitization, masks, and business also continues for you at NTT NetMagic, and that can also be a fine example for other businesses and other organizations around the world. Sharad, we hope that you stay safe, you and your employees. Please take care and stay safe during these hard times.
Thank you, Brian. You stay safe too, and look forward to interacting with you again soon.